my soul to sing, and my fingers what to do. Through the days and nights, taught me all they knew. Oh, Saint T and M, they helped me find my blues. I spend my life walking in their shoes.
You're listening to Blues on the Hill, you're with Baz, and back in 2016 I was lucky enough to be a judge at the IBC in Memphis. Took a little detour, headed to Clarksdale for the first time, dropped into Ground Zero Blues Club, and there was a woman on stage who I hadn't seen before. I'd been spinning her music on my show, but never had the opportunity to see her live. And now she's in Melbourne for the first time. Heather Crosse, welcome to Blues on the Hill. Welcome to Melbourne.
Well, thank you. Thanks for spinning my record.
Absolute pleasure.
Very cool.
And it was great to see you in Clarksdale, but more importantly, first visit to Melbourne, first visit to Australia. How's it been?
It's been wonderful. I got to stay 6 whole weeks. I love it. I don't want to go home, so I'm just going to scheme of how can I come back next year.
Now, it's incredible how these things happen, because you've been out with Fiona Boys and you were doing the camp, the workshop. You're doing the workshop, I think, the Pine Top Perkins workshop, and you just mentioned to Fiona, well, you know, I'd like to come out to Australia one day, and her bass player didn't make it, and it just sort of happened, isn't it? Is that the way it worked?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a fan of Fiona's, and we made friends from her visits to Clarksdale and Memphis, and then she's actually hired me and my drummer from Clarksdale, Lee Williams. It's on my album. She hired us a couple of years ago. We did a few gigs in Clarksdale. We played was it the Eureka Springs Blues Fest in Arkansas. And she got hired to be a guitar teacher at the Pine Top Perkins Foundation. And they finally added bass a couple of years ago, so I got to be the bass instructor. So that made us spend like a whole nother week together as teachers. And yeah, she made my dream come true. I wanted to visit Australia, and especially to play music here, mainly because so many Aussies come to me in Clarksdale. And I had 2 couples in the audience today that I know from Clarksdale, and there were like at least four other audience members came up to me and said they were like you. They came to Clarksdale such and such year and saw me, and they remembered me. So I felt like I had friends. I mean, it's very, very good people here, and they love blues music.
You've spent a long time in Clarksdale. What's it like living in a place like that? The ground zero of blues.
It is what it is, as Red would say. It's a very unique experience. I have a unique experience because I wasn't born there. I was a blues fan, and a guitar player friend brought me there when I was 18. I did not even play bass at 18, and I fell in love with blues music. And then I lived in Arkansas, and I met an Arkansas bluesman, and I picked up the bass and was playing for him, and he passed away, St. Thomas Jenkins. And so I had been going over to Clarksdale for 15 years as a blues fan. And one night I'm partying at the same juke joint after the festival, Hobson Commissary, and Super Chicken and his keyboard player Lala were there. And I was drinking and having a good time. And I went up and like wanted to meet them. And I was like, I've been watching you guys for years, and I think it's really cool that you have, you're showcasing female musicians, because he's backed by his daughter plays drums, Heather Tackett plays bass. And I told him that I played bass, and that I had one blues guy. So he's like, wait, you play bass? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I need a bass player in Mexico City in a couple of weeks. And I was like, I just didn't really think it was for real. But he called me in 2 weeks and gave me my first gig in like 2006, going out with him to Mexico. I had to get a passport. And a couple of years passed. Some things were going wrong in my life in Arkansas. So I took a chance and I moved to Clarksdale to play blues and started out playing with him. And I got to play with all these people that I've been watching for years, including like the Muddy Waters tribute band. They were still going, like Billy Big Eye Smith and Calvin Fuzz Jones on the bass. And I still to this day work with Bob Margolin. So it was like dreams coming true. And yeah, I definitely think it was meant to be for me to move to Clarksdale. I just loved it. And you ask about what it's like living there. Living there is a little different than being a tourist there. But for me to be welcomed as a local musician and to kind of make a name for myself there as a musician, and then also became a music teacher, there's kind of starving for arts there, and there's all these wonderful like after school music programs and supplementary arts programs that are mostly on grants and tourists coming and donating money. So I felt like I became part of the community, like something that I found to be very magical, and I still see it to this day. People come there from all over the world and feel some sort of magic. You have to come and see it to understand it, I think.
It is, it's special, and places, places
you know
like
what I'm talking about.
Ground Zero, like Reds, and it's just, there's something going on. You know, I've stayed with Z twice now, and just to go to the Riverside, you know.
Yeah.
And places like that, they're magical, and it must, you know, give that effect to your music when you're staying there, you're living there, you're hearing it all the time. You know, the hill country vibe and all that Mississippi music. It makes a difference to the way you play.
It does. I mean, I've been learning from the School of Life. I didn't go to college and study music and read music. I totally learned bass by ear. And I've been so lucky to have, like, I think I've had at least probably six like old blues guy mentors that have all passed on. So it feels like that they passed something down to me because I was open to it. I felt a calling. And then now, like, I travel the world and represent Clarksdale. I mean, I had no clue that was going to happen to me in my life. And then, like, to be able to, like, I did a workshop while I was here to pass it down to others, you know, kids or adults or people from another country, it's quite a special, honorable role to play.
And you got picked up by Roof Records. I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
It is Roof.
Yeah, and your wonderful album. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was something else I didn't expect because I was busy playing bass and backing all these old blues guys, and I actually sang and did a little music in my childhood. So after several of my mentors passed, everybody knew I could sing, and they started pushing me to sing in their shows. I would be like a relief singer or a backup singer, their bass player, and then some mentors pushed me into fronting a band. That's not something that I planned. It just kind of happened. And when I moved to Clarksdale, everybody was so supportive. I mean, they wanted me to play bass for them, but they honored my band and carried it on. And yeah, in 2014, I got an email. I was on a legendary rhythm and blues cruise, and when I got home, there was an email from this Tom Roof Records guy, and I was a big fan of Luther Allison. I used to see Luther Allison in King Biscuit Blues Fest in Arkansas, across the river from Clarksdale, and he's like, yeah, me and, you know, he was telling me who he is. Me and Luther Allison started this record label, I think it was at least 10 years at that point, and of course Luther had passed, but he told me I do this blues caravan every year, and I'm gonna do Girls with Guitars for a revisit. He had done one in 2011, and made Samantha Fish, the big blues star, and yeah, he needed a singing bass player girl tied to the blues. And I'm the one he found.
There you go.
And so I'm like, okay, I'll try writing. I was kind of a cover artist. I wanted to write, but so I had the pressure on, and yeah, I got to do the Girls with Guitars Blues Caravan 2015, did an album with them, and then he signed me, and I got to do my solo album the following year, and I even got to use my band, and I got to use his producer, Uncle Jim Gaines, which is, I don't know if you know who Jim Gaines is, but if you don't know, look him up.
Royalty.
He treated me like family, and I saw all of his gold records, and I mean, what an honor. And he was in his 70s, so my first album experience was magical. I mean, working with Jim, and he liked my band and trusted my band and my musicians, and Tom had to trust Jim's judgment on us Americans, and it worked out really well, and I would like to make another album now. That's what I plan to do.
Yeah, so what is the future now? You've moved out of Clarksdale, you've moved to Louisiana, so you're out of there, but what's the plans? What's happening for 2020 with Heaven Crosse?
Well, I'm very big on facts. So I've spent the last 12 years in Clarksdale, made it my hometown, but I was born in the state of Louisiana, and my mother owns a beach house right down south from Clarksdale, 6 hours south, all the way to the Gulf Coast. It's called Long Beach, Mississippi, near Gulfport. So my mom needed me, and I was kind of wanting to try living in a new place, and so I actually just moved there. I'm still in Mississippi, but I'm an hour from New Orleans, NOLA, and so I'm going to enter the NOLA music scene, and I have all the coast music, and I still go back to Clarksdale and Memphis and Arkansas and do all the stuff I've been doing for years. But I basically moved there to help out my mom and just live there for a minute. But I like it there, and it's my inheritance. And so I was my guitar player couldn't travel with me anymore. So I'm still trying to find a new guitar player and make a new album. I have a lot of people, a support group that's formed around me, producers, friends, musicians, hopefully a financial backer. And I will probably join VizTone. VizTone I'm very tied to them with Bob Margolin. I work for Bob Margolin and the Pine Top Foundation, so they will take me if I can get my album made.
It's a great label. I get all the VizTone stuff.
Yeah.
Always
it feels like a good fit for me, my history with the people, and I love, of course, Bob and Rosie. But the coolest thing was that I was kind of in transition and a little dead in the water, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have my own band anymore to tour with, so Fiona and I and Steve, actually, the preacher, and I were talking on the porch of Hobson in June when we were doing the Pine Top workshop, and I was telling him how much I wanted to go to Australia, and how much I respect Fiona, and so they bring me here. I've been here 6 weeks touring with her. We've done some duo work. We joined her drummer, Marky, and did some band gigs like you saw today. And she's already hired me and my Clarksdale drummer, Lee Williams, it's a homeboy there. We will join her in June. We'll all teach at the workshop, and then Lee and I, my rhythm section, will go on tour with Fiona from June to next October. So I'm not actually free until about November, but we're gonna go to Norway, we're gonna go to Canada, do Edmonton, we're gonna go to California, we're gonna hit some Arizona and Texas on the way. Of course, we're gonna play Reds and Ground Zero before we head out of Clarksdale. But yeah, so I feel like I have a big year ahead.
That's
I'm
awesome.
honored to work with her. She's such an inspiration to me, and just I was kind of in a down place, and she's really lifts me up and gives me strength. And so I hope maybe in this next year I'll get a little more travel experience working with a professional lady. It's a great influence on me. So and she even started writing a song for me. I mentioned that I was wanting to write this song about how it's kind of in the name of Super Chicken, because he has a similar idea for a song, but it's like, I was born in Louisiana, spent a lot of time in Arkansas, and then became a Mississippi woman, and she wrote me a song, started it, I have to finish it, and it'll be a co-written song, and I want to record it with her, but it's called Louisiana Arkansas Woman. So to kind of tell about my tri-state southern galness, if you want to call it that. So yeah, I look forward to a really great year of working with new people, and of course reuniting with my drummer. And we both love Fiona, and she's just an amazing band leader. So it's going to be great.
It's wonderful. It's a big international blues family. It's amazing how big things happen. And I believe in fate, and it was fate that you got out here, and you're in Melbourne, and your first visit to Australia, Christmas in Australia, and I'm sure you're going to be back.
I like I told you, I'm free in November, and my scheme is, how can I come back to Australia at some point in November that's when I'm free. So
well, we've got plenty of festivals, and I'm sure someone will work something out. Been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Great to have you in the country. Great to see you again here rather than Clarksdale. Heather, thank you so much for your time. Great to have you here.
Thank you. I love Australia. You guys touch my heart. Thanks.
Thank you.